Thank you for staying with us. Now, the abduction of students from Government College, Science College, Kagara, Niger State has once again put the safety of schools on the front burner. Insurgents and bandits have targeted schools from Buniyadi to Chibok to Dapchi to Kankara and Kagara. It is the same cycle of abduction and killing of school children. In-house analyst Obani Akinwale and in the studio with us to discuss this morning. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
For the upteamed time, we are seeing the abduction of school children from their classrooms, and it has generated concerns, like we rightly pointed out. Chibok happened in 2014, where we had 276 students kidnapped, although 112 are still missing. Dapchi, which happened in 2018, we had 113 of them, and 107 were released. 6 were said to have been killed. Leah Sharibu is still in captivity. And then we had the Kankara, which happened last year. About 344 students, and all of them were released. And then we have Kagara, which just happened. 27 of them were kidnapped. Now, this is generating concerns across the board. Yes, we have seen kidnapping, but kidnapping of students who are said to be the leaders of tomorrow for the country. Let's begin with you, Dikbo. How concerning this is to you?
Well, for me, it is very concerning, and the kidnapping of students, or the insecurity we see in schools today, is quite indicative of what we have in the larger society. That's why we say security for one is security for all, and insecurity for one is literally insecurity for all. So the question now is, do we get to have all the schools policed? That is impractical, and that is quite improbable. Saying that we have all the schools around the nation, even in the north, to be policed, okay? That is, the police don't even have the manpower for it. So let's even assume that they are able to pull it off. Another soft target for terrorists around the world, aside from schools, is hospitals. So what then happens when they see that all the schools are protected and then they move to hospitals? And do you then pull the police from the schools and take them to the hospital? So that's why we keep having the conversation around having the security of lives and property.
There came up with the Safe Schools initiative at the time, where I think about $30 million was, released or raised at the time. And the UN Special Envoy for Global Education at the time was also, deposited some amounts for this, $30 million to ensure that schools were safe, especially at the north at the time. But not much was seen to have been achieved with that, and questions have arisen as to where are these monies? What has been done? What really, are we really sincere at addressing this issue of ensuring a safe schools?
Like the general Yoruba proverb that says, you see a man with a hot bank and you say the load is carrying on his head, it's not straight. You say you are looking at the load on his head, but what about the load on his back that will never make him to stand straight? I know before now, decades ago, UNICEF has always been shouting that the minimum benchmark for any serious government for education should be about 26%. And you agree with me that I remember those days when you apply for forms to go to federal government colleges, the civilian government, so they begin to the capacity military. We have a man on TVC that came to tell us, a military man, that they are still using some 1979 Sudan equipment in the military. So you discover that just before when this man came in, President Buhari, not to sound very popular or to praise him, is the only time they said, either by fire by force, withdraw 1 billion from ecological fund and invest in our military. So what we have done over time is that we have technically relegated the educational sector in terms of investment, and again, we have totally destroyed our security apparatus, either in terms of personnel or in terms of resources. So what we are finding out now is a result of our years of failing to invest properly in those critical sectors of the economy. And when you ask, where are this money? We all know what happens. Contract are signed. You remember the case of oil subsidy program, what have you, the Lumelu Edge program, what have you. You have putting signs on paper, and people don't have offices. They take billions, they take millions home without anything, and nobody is asking them a question. So what we are getting down now is basically failure of years of lack of investment in both our security apparatus and our educational system.
Now, Dikbo, we have had this issue of out-of-school children over the years, and recent reports say that about 13.5 million children are out of school, and now a pandemic came, we had that issue. A lot of children couldn't go to school.
Yes.
Even though they have reopened schools, some are still finding it difficult. And then we have issues of insecurity. I mean, what are the implications of this for us, especially looking at the numbers that we already have?
Well, for me, it is quite frightening looking at the future of this nation, because when you say 13.5 million, and then you look at the population of certain nations, I mean, I can pick up 3 nations now and put the entire population together and tell you that they are still less than 13 million. Those are nations with independent government systems recognized by the UN. They have passports, they are functional governments that have that number as their population. And today we have that population as the number of out-of-school children. So what that tells me is in a decade or two to come, we have a lot of children that aren't educated. And mind you, this is the era of AI, this is the era of machine learning. So definitely they are not going to be able to compete with their peers. So they will be falling behind. And somehow some of these children will also find their way to government, either you like it or not, at any level. So because you cannot give what you do not have, they will tend to give us what we have given them when they were younger, which is literally or practically nothing, which for me, it is quite frightening when we look at the future of this nation. We'll also look at the issue of insecurity, because a lot of them, when they get into teenage years and then for some reason there's a lot of poverty in the family, they see some fellow give them 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira, gives them a rifle and says that. So if we're not careful, we find out that this issue around insecurity is something that we'll keep having to talk about in decades to come, because it does stem from issues like lack of education and lack of security, also lack of resources to even train the children, even either in or out of school. Poverty is another element we're looking at. So all of these issues holistically that we keep talking about, that are the bane of our society today, aren't really about today, but it's about the future of our children and the future of our nation.
Obani, this is, like we have rightly pointed out, this is not the first time. And we are asking questions as to, are we really learning from all of the incidents that we have had in recent years, such that we can now build to ensure that it doesn't happen again? Because the next question on the lips of a lot of parents is, which school is next?
Like you mentioned that about 13.6 million, which is said that is like population of countries. Countries like Scotland, as of 2020, has a population of 5.4 million. Country like Northern Ireland has a population of 1.6 million. Country like Wales has a population of about 3.4 million. So we find out that Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Ireland totally together forms population of illiterate or uneducated children in Nigeria. That's about 4 countries in United Kingdom. So what we find out is that we have always been unfortunate with the crop of leadership we have. And let me give you an example. In 2008 or thereabout, or 2012, the federal government said, go and capture and register for your SIM card. The telecos were organizing that. After that, NCC themselves insisted that they want to do their own capturing. We did that. We want to do for international passport, you do another biometrics. We want to do voters card, you do another biometrics. You want to do federal licensing, driving licensing, we do another biometrics. BBM. You come again in 2021 to say, oh, this thing you are doing is not right, to come and capture again. You have started saying again that even your BVN that you are currently having, that you have done biometrics with the bank, come and capture again. So what you find out is that we have always been blessed with this set of leaders that they are always having a somersault, or they are always merry-go-round around the same spot. 2021, and you have a sitting governor, like you have a sitting chairman, allocation has been given to those people, people are planting there, and yet all of them will tell us, are my kids, why can't we have a law that bans every public office holder children from going to private schools or traveling abroad? Let's try that out. If the son, the daughter of Mr. Governor, Mr. Chairman, is going to the same primary school that their father are supposed to force and finance, I'm sure things will be better. But we discovered that most of these governors, chairmen have universities. Even when the former president did not finance a federal government university, he has his own private university. Churches now have turned education to business, primary, secondary, religious, and what have you. So until government gets it right and we put right people to make policies, and we subject ourselves to the same treatment that these low-level people that we think society will go through, and again, when they chase you go to the wall, And the goat cannot run again, the goat will face you. And that is what we are seeing all these NSAS, Occupy Lekki, banditry, and whatever, because people who fail to train, they will train us how to train others. And that's what we are facing. So it is high time government needs to look inward. If it's going to warrant somebody that stays in Marte, that understand what it takes to look at what the Borno man is doing. He's doing wonderfully well, even among circumstances. But the rest, what are they doing? Buhari has not done this, yet to collect allocation. Look at what the man Nigeria did to rebuild his local government there. Can we not have that kind of example across the country? Is it rhetorics like Senator, President supposed to continue to tell us, or sit down and make laws that make this country available for all? Make equity, distribute justice available to everybody. Right. Then at the end of the day, we hold better for it.
Okay, stemming from what he has said, well, addressing this holistically, earlier you mentioned poverty.
Yes.
Beyond poverty, what more needs to be addressed to tackle this head-on in terms of the issues of insecurity?
I'm afraid poverty is actually the foundation of a lot of it. Because for somebody that cannot feed, hasn't been able to feed in the last 3 days. I mean, we had several instances around when we had the lockdown last year. Right. It was devastating for a lot of families.
So what happened during the palliatives?
Yes, with the whole palliative issues. And I mean, so even before the palliatives were discovered and people were locked down, we had a lot of people, there were growing cases of insecurity. And
yeah, agitation, 1,000 boys.
Yes, and that was there. And I had personal experiences where even having to drive out of my estate, there were people who were stopping the car because the security guys were no longer there. And then they didn't raise the bar. They were saying, "Oh, got anything for us?" And then I'm looking at, who are you? I don't know you. And until you give them something, they weren't going to let you pass. So the question was, what if they had attacked myself and my family in the car at that time, because we had to go to the hospital? Okay, so those issues are there and they had been brewing underground. So for me, poverty in Nigeria is at the foundation of most of the issues we have around.
But the government has come up with some social programs to address that.
Yes, so the question I have always asked is, how sustainable are they? Have they been able to measure the progress? Because it is good that you say you come to the market, you give me 5,000, 10,000 naira. But the question is, how far does it go? Do you come again in the next 6 months? Do you come in the next quarter to give me another one? Because you also have to understand that the value of that 5,000 naira, if I'm going to use it to restock whatever I have in my shop, am I going to get a lot out of it, or I'm just going to take your 5,000 naira and cook a pot of stew because I haven't eaten in 2 days in my family? So those are the things that we have to look at. Yes, they are good as stopgap measures, but what are we putting in place to ensure that those systems are sustainable and to ensure that the 5,000 naira, the 10,000 naira gives somebody, when they put it into a certain system, when they put it into existing businesses, it does get to grow, it does get to multiply so that they can feed their families, so that they will be susceptible to all these criminal elements in society. It's not just in the north that we have criminal elements. We have them all around the country. But we're saying that when people aren't susceptible to being able to commit crime, say that, okay, take 5,000 naira, take this rifle, take this 10,000 naira, go do this, go loot, go break into this shop, go do this. It goes a long way to ensure that we have a safer and a saner society.
At some point, the government said that that those that were perpetrating this act are coming out of the country, and people have been questioning the porosity of our borders. Yes, we still get to see, some persons and all of it. And how are we ensuring, moving forward now, in terms of beyond poverty, to ensure that our borders are safe and that people are safe even within the country?
My father used to tell me that the only person that can make everybody happy is people that sell ice cream. When you lick it, you smoke. And too. Yes. And Bauchi is one part of Nigeria. Oh, yes. And another governor, former governor of Bauchi again, Isa Yuguda has come out that the way Fulani have been treated in this country is not fair. Then you now ask yourself, Mieti Allah has come out severally that the cattle rustlers are always attacking the herdsmen, and the herdsmen need to protect themselves with RPGs and AK-47. We know what the problem is. And what federal government is just trying to do, if we can carry military tanks, we can carry aircraft to trace ESN members that are creating trouble in Imo State. If we can set all those small huts in Osu and other local government ablaze, I don't see anything that we are waiting for to clear the bandits, because we know where the bandits are.
Exactly.
We said we don't want collateral damage, but are we not experiencing collateral damage every day on Nigerians? Outside, if you travel from Lagos to Ibadan, from Ibadan to Ilesha, you are safe. Anything from Ilesha en route Efalaye to Ekiti, you are in trouble. From Owo towards Kaba, you are in trouble. travel between Niger. So where is safe in this country? And we know all this hideout. So if we say they are not Nigerians, don't let come in. If they say they are protecting themselves with AK-47, legalize everybody to carry AK-47 and let us protect ourselves. Otherwise, we will continue to sell this ice cream. And again, government also has to disable what I call poverty of mind. Politicians look after for 4 years. They don't look after who they govern. It's a poverty of mind that makes you think that you must remain in power perpetually. And in order to do that, you need to favor a section of the country that seemingly has the votes. So most time, if this crime is committed in that part of the country, the military go Operation Equate Dance, Operation Crocodile Smile, Operation this one. But when it happens in another part of the country,
they have
CJ, we have multinational joint force is going to relocate. Why don't we have Crocodile Smile or Python dance in those areas? Let them dance in those areas and clear off our forest of all this. Then again, in terms of manpower, Nigerian civil defense lacks personnel. They lack resources. Immigration, they're supposed to guarantee who comes in and comes out. They cannot even police our border. Custom, they are less in number in terms of facility. Nigerian army, the personnel are not enough. Nigerian police, it is not enough. Even Amotekun, how many can you find on street of Lagos, on your even on a local area? So what we are showing is that in terms of personnel and capacity, both human and material resources, for our security apparatus, we are failing. So the only thing we have not failed is every 4-year cycle of election that every politician must ensure that the party that seems to have the higher number of votes ensure that they do not they continue to deodorize them or continue to massage their ego to ensure that you don't lose those block votes. Until government take themselves away from that poverty of mind, we will continue to be where we are. And again, to be sincere with ourselves, no same parent in this country will send any of his work to any boarding school outside where he can put his eye down or outside the main city. You remember what happened in Lagos? That they kidnapped in Lagos.
Yes.
That they have to circle them in Ondo and Okeredo and Ambode had to do it. So it tells you that the kidnapping, the insecurity to our children is at our next door. So government needs to sit up now and ensure what is right is done, and it is done on time.
And that is what is a major concern for a lot of experts, especially with regards to the payment of ransoms. A lot of persons have said that we cannot continue like this.
It's not sustainable.
Because it is going to embolden the others to say, if others can get so much with regards to this venture, which it is becoming.
It is an industry right now.
Something has to be done.
Exactly. So kidnapping has become an industry, and this was a warning I put out a couple of years ago when it all started, especially with the Chibok girls. And I said all this issue of insecurity and kidnapping. I said kidnapping has become an industry, and if you have a cycle where people always get to pay ransom en masse, you have the tendency to have different cells, different blocks come around and say that, you know what, I want my own piece of the action. In Niger State, a couple of days ago, we saw the vigilante group trying to also rescue the boys. And when I saw them with their Dane guns and all of that, I smiled. And then I had a conversation with certain people. And then I said, don't be surprised when in a couple of days, maybe ransom is paid or not, and then these boys get rescued. And then these vigilante guys look and say, what's the point? I mean, this seems to be lucrative. Why don't I put down my Dane gun, join a cell that has an RPG, get into the kidnapping business, and then cash out as well? So until we make sure that crime is unattractive in this country, we will keep having these challenges.
All right, and that's a fine place to leave the conversation, gentlemen. Obani Akinwale, in-house analyst, Dikbo Oyewole, strategy consultant. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.